Hi everyone, my name is IBUKUNJOSHUA. I welcome you all to this wonderful program, Youth Unplugged. Thank you for being part of this wonderful program. Last week we talked about a whole lot of things concerning understanding the will of the Father. We were able to point at the will of the Father and the aspect of knowing who you are. And we touched the aspect of discovering yourself and the part of you not allowing your idol to rule you or to make you lose out to what the Lord wants to do concerning our life. Last week we discussed a little bit about what is the will of the Father, because there's no point in talking about the will of the Father if you don't understand it. There's no point in waiting for the will of the Father if you don't understand this. So out of 100% of Christians that goes to church, 35% of these people understand the will of the Father. 10% of them do exactly the will of the Father. Now let's talk about something useful, something that we should not neglect when it comes to understanding the will of the Father. There is no other plan, there is no other will that can help you out or that can give you assurance of a better future than the will of the Father. Understand this, that you cannot replace the will of the Father for anything on this earth. If it's not the will of the Father, then it's not the will of the Father, because the plan of God, His mind, are always good. The plan here towards us is to give us an expected ending that brings joy. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. So the difference between the uproar and the euphoria is understanding. One thing you should not neglect when it comes to the will of the Father is that the will of the Father always ends well. The will of the Father is good, is perfect, and is acceptable. The will of the Father is the way of truth. The will of the Father is the way of life. The will of the Father is the way to eternity. The will of the Father is a way to everlasting peace. Remember that the will of the Father is always good and perfect, but you must understand this. Come to think of this, must we fall into error before we turn to Him? Must it end in sorrow and pain before we realize that this is the truth? Must it be that we need to regret our actions before we turn to Him? When you operate with the ideology you carry, when you operate with the things you grow up with, in an environment where you are impressed by things around you, you watch TV, you see the way celebrities act, you talk to friends and the way they present themselves, the way they talk, because they belong to a set of group of people, and some of them having a celebrity as a friend, and because of that you are like, oh, I love this kind of life. I think I can live this kind of life. I think I want this kind of life. And at that, you begin to form ideology, you begin to form idols upon you. And when it is the right time for you to be joined with someone that will help your destiny, because of that idea you've worked with over the years, because of what you've grown up with, you begin to see it as something strange, something not befitting what you want. What if the will of God is opposite to what you want? What if the will of the Father is against your idols? What are you going to do? So the first thing you need to do is to understand the will of the Father. Understand why are you created, who you are. You impact your environment. Your environment don't impact you. So when your environment impacts you, you become a product of your environment. So learn how to impact your environment. It's a problem when you have this ideology ruling you to the extent that you are blocked or you are deceived from understanding the will of the Father. So when your ideology rules your heart, rules everything about you, you fail to understand, why is this person coming to my life? Why is this person looking like this? Sometimes we expect a finished product. That's when you hear somebody say, I can't get married to this lady because she's not up to my standard. I can't get married to this guy because it's not in line with what I want. It's not my spec. But whereas you're being given a raw materials to refine.
Sometimes it may come as a refined product ready to be consumed, and sometimes it may come with a raw materials that you need to refine to be a finished goods. So learn how to understand the will of the Father. The will of the Father for you is to come to this word and impact this word. The will of the Father for the three brothers is to come to this word and invent the plane, invent the aircraft. And these three brothers were able to achieve it. And if all of that is just the purpose in which the three brothers existed, they have fulfilled their purpose. The purpose of God to have bring forth John before Jesus was that he will be the one to reveal the Messiah to the world. Immediately he does that. In the next chapter, he said to him, let him increase that I may decrease. So the purpose of John is being achieved by that simple action. This is Jesus.